So today, first episode of the second season, first episode in the new studio that we moved, let's say in this summer, a very hot period. We have wonderful guest today, Ira. Ira. I think that for me, it's also interesting because it connected to topic that connects a lot of people recent for years with relocation and all that kind of stuff. But first of all, of course, we will put our guest on the scene and let's say, let me give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. And then I also will give a very short, let's say, very short words about what podcast is and how to understand what we are talking about here as well.
Great. Yeah. So thank you, Evgeny, so much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. And I think it's great, as you say, so we are here discussing a topic which is international talent mobility, and we are two international talents, here discussing this. So we kind of have our own experience to share and to tell, and that's what they say, have to be your own user persona, your buyer persona, to understand well your clients. So how did I end up being an international talent? Well, my story is not maybe so exciting. So I'm originally from Finland, from Helsinki, which is a great place and great country. But kind of I had this international aspiration, from very small, and I thought, well, this might be. My plan might be living somewhere else, but then where life takes you, so it's always like an adventure. You never know where you end up. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's also the interesting thing. So you might have some idea, but then life just happens. And but then, as I said, so my story in that sense is quite normal. So I came to Spain after having spent some time in France, etc. But I came to Spain as a student. To Bilbao, actually. So that was not the typical place to land when you come from Finland. So it's not the sunny place in Spain. But I landed there as a student, and then I fell in love, and here we are now, 25 years later. So I actually lived in Bilbao for the first 2 years, and then after that in Madrid, which turned out to become my hometown since then. And very happy to be here. Yeah, so the international path I started there. I kind of stayed after that in one place, but as we will discover, so I've been assisting many international talents during the last decades.
But what was your major? Like, what did you learn actually in Bilbao?
So it was quite funny because Bilbao 20 years ago, it was not a very international place. So we were maybe, I don't know, 10 foreigners in the city. We were like, something very exotic, But I think that gave me that vision to, the integrate fully culturally from the very first moment. Because, actually, I didn't have any other option, because you just have to not dive in and start speaking the language and getting involved with the community and knowing people, etc. So it's not like I can stay within my international friends and surrounding community. So that was, I think it accelerated somehow the cultural integration. And of course you have your own, let's say, drivers and motivation in that sense. My character is also, I like to know people and where I'm living and understand what's going on. But yeah, I think it was a different experience in that sense, because when many people, they arrive, they kind of find their international community, and that's where they start building. But when you have to start building on your own, in a local context, it's different.
Yeah, I can understand this and can relate to this, because that's also one of the reasons why I chose Madrid, not Barcelona, because in Barcelona it's really great Russian-speaking community, but I wanted to be a bit more like connected to local life, because I was always afraid like that I will stay in my circle and my community, because my father also immigrated like 30 years ago to United States, and he tried to adopt, and that was also one of his successful paths, that he built his kind of presence more local connected, not like in this kind of like, I don't know, like circle or like a closed community. So he had to adopt in any case. And 35 years, not 40.
Yeah.
30 years ago, there was no internet and so many knowledge and all that kind of stuff. But you haven't responded me. Like, what was your major in education?
Oh, what I studied? Do you mean?
Yes, what you studied? Yes, what you studied?
I studied languages. No, so that was what I chose to study when I graduated from high school. I said, okay, so what do I want to do for living? I said, well, I don't know, but I like traveling. I like speaking to other people, like understanding. So I'll just study languages. I guess that will be helpful at some point of life. So I actually studied French and Spanish, and that maybe also shaped kind of my path, and yes, it has been useful in many contexts and in many professional adventures also on the way. And then, of course, here I completed my studies with economic studies, MBAs, etc. But that was my ground studies. Yeah.
But actually, Finnish is very complicated. I mean, like it's really hard to learn because my Spanish teacher learns Finnish. And,
oh, really? Wow.
Yes. And and she's Russian, but she speaks Spanish fluently, and she's learning Finnish. I don't know the story behind the scene, but I know that this is a really complicated language because you don't have a lot of soundy letters. It's more like tell us something in Finnish. I think it will be interesting for Spanish.
Mä kertoisin. Suomen kieli on niin sellainen erilainen kieli. Se kuulostaa kaikkien mielestä tosi oudolta, koska se on sellainen, mihin korva ei ole sinänsä tottunut. Yeah, it sounds weird, right?
Wow.
Yeah. The thing is that it's so different from the other languages because
it's very different.
Yeah, it sounds different, and actually it is different. So it doesn't have no other languages that might support your learning. No, because if you know, I don't know, French, that helps you with Spanish, no, etc. No, German with Danish, I don't know. But so it's a completely different thing. So it's and that's why it's complicated, no, because you don't have any points of connection with anything no, typically. But it's a good secret language, yeah. So still, it's quite a secret language most of the world.
And it sounds soft, actually. I mean, it sounds rather soft.
Yeah,
whereas, Russian, for example, is more hard in terms of pronunciation.
Yeah,
like it's more not rude, but how to put it? It sounds like Eastern European accent, the classic one. But
exactly.
Finland is very very different language.
It's unique. It's unique in that sense.
It's unique. And I know that it's also the group of languages that are not very widely spread. Like that you said, it's not connected. With a lot of
the Estonian language is very similar, so they obviously have the same origin. And then, in theory, Hungarian is from the same language family, but with the Hungarians, obviously, we don't understand.
It sounds completely different.
The grammatical system, etc. So there is the roots are somewhere in the same place, but there is no means to understand. But the Estonian is very, very similar. Yeah.
But how it was like for you to learn French or Spanish? The different grammar, 2,000 ways of tell like I'm going to something in different tenses. Like how it was for you with the completely different.
French is hard. I mean, French is hard, but I think then learning Spanish after French, I think it helped a lot. But then I always say, well, Spanish is not a very difficult language to get the basic level of communication but it's also a social thing. I mean, in Spain, when I'm sure you know this, no? So when you just know a couple of words, it's very easy to start picking.
Your Spanish is great. Your bueno, Castellano, perfecto.
Yeah, so they are happy. They are happy.
Hola. I just said hola. ¿Qué tal?
Exactly, and they just like cracking into the conversation, and that's it. So it's socially easy.
That supports a lot, specifically
Absolutely.
From my culture, when it's really a bit it's not it's kind of closed culture still, and when you try to say something, teacher at school tells you like, no, what you're doing something wrong, in my school, for example. But I mean, this also gives some kind of perception. You're a bit afraid speaking other languages. And in Spain, it was the most I don't know, encouraging atmosphere to speak and to learn, and everybody supports you. And for me, especially, I look like gringo, so they understand that let's have no expectations from this guy. Let's just allow him to speak something and then ask in English him, if there is an option. That's interesting. But French, Spanish, why Bilbao still?
Well, I went to Bilbao because that was the exchange program place I got from my university. So that was kind of an accent, and that was 25 years ago. So as you said, so there was no and a Google map. I had to actually grab a physical map to see where is this place, no? But then then I was happy to go there because it was an opportunity to connect in a different way. Because when you come to a city like, I don't know, Madrid or Barcelona, as you say, so there are so many foreign students, you kind of get lost in the context. So it was great to be in a smaller place, and it's a beautiful city. I don't know if you have been in Bilbao, so it's a
I was in San Sebastian, but I know that Bilbao is for me. I like architecture, and for me, Bilbao is one of the points of the interest because it was completely a city that was completely transformed from industrial one to post-industrial era. Absolutely. And Guggenheim Museum, that was at your time when you appeared there.
Yeah, so it has just been built before me going there. So it was just the beginning of the transformation era, let's say. Yeah, it was.
So for me, Bilbao is on the map, and and also I will say that this is also Basque country, so it's a bit different culture, and you also have a bit different context. Less foreigners, more like local culture still, and.
But it's becoming very touristic also nowadays. No, San Sebastian, Bilbao, etc. So which is great for the economy, etc. But in summer, it's like wow. So now there are a lot of people visiting. No, it wasn't that way, no, earlier. But it's good, no, in general. I think no people moving around.
Nice. So let's continue from Bilbao to your professional path, and what how we end up with the Openrelo. We can make some milestones. I know that the path is rather long, but we can make some milestones, and for me, what is interesting about is that you started, as far as I understand, before it became this kind of trend, right?
Yeah. So no, I'm trying to get the long story short, no, but I always felt pretty much the call of the entrepreneurship. So I started on my own more than 20 years ago. So my first entrepreneurship was a travel agency, already like in this context of moving people around, no? But it obviously like a first entrepreneurship. So I ran out of money, and I had to look for a job urgently, and I accidentally landed in a relocation company. So as it often happens. So now it's more like common, but like 20 years ago, so nobody knew what relocation. Nobody knew what relocation was, and I didn't know either. But I just, they needed somebody with languages, with selling skills, etc. So there I went, and so I actually learned that it was a great industry. It was a very different industry back then. I'll get back to that, and but it kind of was a fit for me. No, as we said, so when you are your buyer persona, you understand the needs and the pain points for the people who are trying to start a new life in a new city. So it's easier kind of relate and also to promote those services. So first I ended up there as an employee, and then with a colleague, we in 2010 we set up our own company, which was called Antares Relocation. And we grew, and we were, after 10 years, like one of the market leaders with a big team, etc. And then 2021, we had opportunity to sell this company to a French scale-up. And that's what we did. And then after a couple of years under the new management, I exited from that project. Actually, it was last summer. And I already had in mind my new project, which is now Openrelo. And where Openrelo comes from is kind of the follow-up of all the experience I have from the industry, but also observing very closely what's happening in the market and how it has evolved, because it's not the same market anymore. So talent mobility 20 years ago was pretty much about C-level executives on international assignment.
Consultants.
The expats, no, the famous expats, no, the expats profiles, no, that the companies has sent abroad. So typically, you picture the Mr. Jones. No, we need you 5 years in Singapore to manage this project. No, and then he goes with everything paid. The family and the best international schools, and the ad hoc service pack, which is great, but obviously it's very expensive. And nowadays you see that those kind of assignments less and less because of the cost and because the change of the international business. And now there are more effective ways to manage business internationally. And now we have a whole new scenario of other type of mobility that we will, I'm sure, discuss here. And so I said we have to find a solution for these new scenarios of mobility, which has evolved, and the needs are different, and the solutions have to be different.
It's really interesting how it changed, because I remember my first relocation was with the Big Four company, and it was to Cyprus, and it was then to Malta. It was a very different experience in comparison to my recent relocation. But again, I would say that it's still, even though it is more maybe expensive, and it's still complicated. I mean, even though you put these things with you and you have some support, but still, I think it was complicated. Now it's still a lot more complicated, and that's actually the question to the next part. What challenges do you see in industry? What changed? Expats, digital nomads, not only nomads. What changed in this industry? How do you see that?
Yeah, so I think the biggest change, that was the shift from the expat management to actually, so the biggest scenario for the talent mobility nowadays, I think I would say it's international hiring. So the companies, there are a lot of industries that the companies are not able to find in the local market the talent they need. So they need very specific skill sets, etc. So if they don't find the talent locally, what they do, they go and find it globally. And at the same time, there are a lot of professionals around the world who are seeking for those international opportunities for professional and personal growth, for lifestyle questions, whatever personal motivation. So there is as in any market, so there is a law of offer and demand, and when those two match, so what happens? It's an international cross-border recruitment. And as you say, so the situation is the same, even if you move as an expat, you move as a international hire and digital nomad, whatever, you still need certain things to be covered. But when it comes to the company's capability of supporting you, typically from the budget perspective, it's very different, because these people, result of local hire, so international recruitment, they take on local position. So they are not expatriates. And these landings or these arrivals, they don't count with the expat budgets. So the challenge the companies have is that they don't really have tools to support these onboardings, and they are often not prepared to do that. And it's a challenging moment for both parties, because on the other hand, you have a company that you want. The companies, nowadays they're very much aware of the importance of the onboarding when it comes to building long-term relationships. But the thing is that they still do treat the international talent when it comes to onboarding like it was local talent. And the international talent, they have additional challenges, because they are going through a major life-changing event. And I think that's the biggest challenge to make those two needs, let's say corporate side and personal side, match in a right framework.
Completely agree with that. One question that will definitely arise: what types of positions or what demand do you see in Spain or I don't know in other markets that you're working with for hiring and for actually offering?
Yeah. So we have been working, so I say over the last, so in my previous company and now also in this, so mainly within the IT professional context. So companies, technology companies with different profiles from developers, to cybersecurity. So all kind of professionals, but let's say tech professionals. But then there are other industries like life sciences. Of course, well, there are many talent shortage areas like medical, but the thing is that it's more complicated when it comes to hiring from abroad. And one for the next coming 10 years, one of the increasing talent shortage area will be the industry. So the qualified professionals in industry, they will be lacking. So there are many sectors suffering, but people typically think about only the tech professionals, but there are many profiles that will be lacking in the Occidental markets.
And from what countries or what regions, I would say, international hires are most wanted from?
Well, of course, for Spain, let's say maybe the major sourcing market, if we call it that way, is typically Latin America because of the cultural, the language. Barriers are lower. Let's say they still exist, but they are lower. And many companies, they feel more comfortable having team members who can communicate in the common language. But still, we have people coming. So companies onboard people from all over. No, so you have Canadians, Belarusians, Tunisians. People from, I don't know, Pakistan. So it's really about, not so much about nationality, it's about finding those individuals with the right profile skill set and then having the willingness to onboard them. So it's quite, well, of course, Europeans also, no? So all over the place.
Yeah, and that's interesting. But for example, for industrial workers, like if you need to hire, it's also Latin America. You're trying to find Latin America or like.
Well, it depends also on the company's policy. So in our practice, so we don't get involved in the hiring process itself. So I always say we start when the recruiters finish their job, no? Because that's the companies, they do recruiting or internally, externally. So those decisions, it's very much up to the company and where you can find those professionals. So there are some countries where some industries are stronger. So they obviously have more talent pool to draw from. So it's also happens very often when they start hiring in one country, maybe by accident, and then they look for more candidates from the same environment if it worked out well. So it depends.
And what is the difference for you? Like if we're talking more about like big picture between adopting and let's say talent strategy onboarding, I would say, from Latin America or from Europe, from Asia or from, I don't know, other regions that you're working with, like what I don't know, key highlights, key differences that you may see, what challenges are you facing, as well as Openrelo?
So at the end, I think people are people everywhere, no? So when it comes to organizing their own lives, we have similar challenges independently where we come from, no? And that's the first, I think, the idea that we have to keep in mind. And normally the people are concerned about very, I don't say basic things, but so those important life things, no? Where I'm going to live, am I going to be safe? Is my professional career in this new country will be successful? How about my family if I move with family? So these are the same topics that are important for everybody. I think sometimes we think that when people come from like culturally more close regions, like for Spain, Latin America, or for Europeans, the companies or in general we tend to think that's easier, but it's not necessarily easier, no? Because maybe more effort is done when somebody comes from a very different cultural environment. But even, well, we discussed, I don't know, Basque Country earlier, but even for somebody moving from Andalusia to Basque Country can be a cultural experience, no? So if somebody's coming from Portugal, it doesn't have to be a lot easier than coming from further abroad. So I think that's something that we need to also remember. But of course, so knowing a language is a huge advantage. For Europeans, knowing the code of, let's say, conduct, generally speaking, culturally, it's easier. So of course, so when you have points of connection, let's say, it is easier. Also in the work culture. So there is the culture for the life, and then the work culture. But it's not It's not always easy even if you come from a place nearby.
100% agree. I can't argue with that. And still, interesting. What challenges? What shall I know is the company, for example, to avoid like top 3 mistakes
Top 3 mistakes.
with hiring or retention of international hire. And for international hire, I think it's not so related to myself, but still I think that it's important for specialists to understand what questions shall be asked for or what shall be considered to avoid any mistakes from their side as well.
Yeah.
For both parties.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't call it a mistake. So normally it's more about lack of knowledge or experience, maybe. But so maybe it's underestimating the complexity of the life moment of these people. So changing jobs is always difficult, and even if you come from, you get a new job in your hometown, and but these people are trying to understand a new company culture, but they are, at the same time, they are settling in a completely new context, a new cultural context, a new city, a new language, a new social environment. So it's a lot to take in, no? At the same time, and at the same moment, they want to perform at their best in their new role, because so in that sense, it's also very different when we say we're moving expats, because when you move an expat, so somebody who already works for you, and you move him or her to a new country, you have somebody who is already kind of committed with your company and with your brand, and that's typically why you chose that person to move, because there is a commitment, and you know that they will and working for the best interest of your company abroad. But when you have a new hire coming to your company, that's the moment when you need to build that commitment, and that's something that it's a very delicate moment, because everything that will happen in the early stage of that relationship between the employer and the employee, or not happen, will hugely impact the future of that relationship. So it's easy to talk about, now we are very people-centric and employee-centric, but I think relocating somebody or hiring somebody abroad is really one of these moments that these values that you put in, that you state in your on your website, so they are really put into test, because so how are you supporting somebody during the visa process, or are you being responsive before they arrive, because it can take, several months before people actually have the first day at the office, since they took the decision to transfer, because there is the whole visa processing time, etc. So that's a very delicate moment, and that's why the trust is built for the long term, as you said, talent retention, etc. So underestimating the importance of that start of the talent journey, I think it's something that needs to be kept in mind. And nowadays, it's also, so when it's about talent attraction and retention, so we need to remember that especially the younger talent, say they do background checks on the companies. So before they make decisions on should I onboard with this company or not, they will check reviews, and they will talk to current employees, and they will find out what is happening really with those relocation projects. So if it goes well, you have a great opportunity to create advocates for your brand, and that will help you to retain more, attract and retain talent. But on the other side, so when everything goes bad or something is not so well handled, that word will go out too. So when it comes to talent attraction policies, it's also important to take that into consideration.
I think that this also interesting aspect, like for a specialist. Agree with your point. I just want to add that it's also important for a specialist to feed the culture. Like when you hire international specialist, the specialist and the company need to match two things at the same moment, like the culture of the company and the culture of the country where the person
absolutely
works or going to work, and how to accelerate or how to make it happen more easily or smoothly, this cultural integration, in your opinion, like from your experience?
Yeah. So cultural experience, well, there are some, basics obviously for cultural integration, no? So they're knowing the common the local customs and the language, etc. So this is something that you need to learn and can learn, no, to some extent at least. But then you need real spaces where to put it in practice. And I think that's the thing. So it's like the cultural integration, I think it's a two-way responsibility. So from the individual side, you need to have the willingness to engage and to integrate. But I think the company has a huge role also in creating those spaces where that can be put in practice. So, and it doesn't have to be so complicated. You can connect the newcomer with somebody that have common interests or similar life situation, or make sure that they get involved in the conversations. So it's those little things that really matter. And then it's something that needs to be checked on. So it needs like constant monitoring, the cultural integration. So we can't just expect, okay, so there's somebody arrived and now magic will happen. We need to check what is happening really. So I don't know, it can be automated prompting, or it can be human touch points, but we need to check what's going on. So if the person feels that the integrating is happening or not, and catch the ball before it becomes a barrier. So there are ways to avoid people feeling isolated professionally and personally, but we need to be aware of that. I think in many situations, because the people, the talent incorporated, they don't want to be a problem, so they don't all shout out, "No, hey, I'm in this situation. I'm in this dark place, feeling not integrated." So we need to give the opportunity to discuss those challenges too.
It sounds hard, and it's hard.
Yeah.
No, I passed through this stages several times, so that's why I have kind of post-trauma. But yeah, it's really life-changing experience. And Ira, maybe I want also to ask you about Spain as the center, let's say, of this attraction as of now, and what advantages do you see, and what opportunities Spain has for both offers and demanders, let's say, for supply and demand on this international hire market. What do you see? What challenges? What opportunities? Maybe new visas, or maybe some kind of legal as well, things that need to be considered.
Well, I think the most amazing, attractive Spain has is the country itself. No, it's obvious. No, so sometimes the Spanish people say, I can't understand. So why everybody wants to live here? Because they see the problems there are in society, politics, whatever. Don't want to get there to that topic. But for somebody coming abroad, so it's a great place. Spain's a great place to live in. No? And many companies, when it comes to talent attraction, they have already also realized this. So many tech companies, other companies that need to attract qualified talent, they, as you know, they have set up operational hubs, I don't know, in Malaga, in Barcelona. So because they know that Spain has something to offer. Now, maybe not the highest salaries of the world, but there are other things in life that now people do appreciate. I want to believe that the governance also understand this, and there are initiatives like the digital nomad visa, some tax benefits, etc., for people who actually want to live in Spain and contribute from here. But there is always a lot to do in the area, no? And we know that the governments and those kind of decisions, they always go like a bit late, no? So the market goes first, and then the rest comes. But when I talk to my colleagues in other countries, also when it comes to visa processing, etc., it's not so bad, no? I mean, in Spain. So actually, it does work okay, no? So if you have the right profile, etc. So I've been dealing with the immigration, corporate immigration for 20 years. I know we have had a lot worse moments than now. So when it comes to permit processing, etc. So but yes, I think there is a common need for lobbying from all of us that are in this position of understanding the importance of international talent for growth, for innovation, etc. And then I want to mention, so there's something that I think it's absolutely fascinating when it comes to talent mobility. So it's not only about international hiring, so that the corporate context. So it's for me the one of the biggest changes in the talent mobility scenario has been the rise of what I call the independent movers and the liquid workers. No, so these professionals that actually can work from anywhere, no, and for their clients. And we have the freelancers, independent consultants, the entrepreneurs, the digital nomad, and many of these profiles, they are choosing Spain for obvious reasons. So they look for the lifestyle, the cost of living, connectivity, etc. And so Spain has a very, very unique position. And this is also an audience which is completely new for let's say, the talent mobility service providers that traditionally have been in this market, because these are not corporate driven, so it's talent driven mobility. So where talent makes the decision, they are self-funded, self-organized, and no HR departments involved. But they still need a framework for their move. And because when you have a clear path, so you avoid a lot of mistakes, you accelerate your integration, etc. So there is also a challenge how we attend this new audience, which is, as I said, non-corporate audience. And it's really, really interesting. I think it's a huge opportunity for the market, because there are millions of people that will drive that kind of mobility more and more. And it's about also the mindset of the new generations. It's not only about work. I want to work in the best place for me. Where can I work the best for my clients? So it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle or life decision in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this is also one of the reasons why I started this podcast. I wanted to say a few words about that in the beginning, but it was too interesting to interrupt you. And for me, also, it's one of the great discoveries, actually, that Spain has a lot of cliches, there's it's always so I don't know, life enjoying experience, kind of this. And for me, first shock was when I received my residence permit just in 2 months or something. It was very quick and not 100% straightforward process, but the best actually process that I had in experience. In comparison with Cyprus, Latin America, and UK, for example, as well, that I was also considering to be this kind of home in the future. But of course, the food decides. The question of food was very important for me. So there was no real other options. And for me, it was also very interesting because it was very fast experience. And a friend of mine that was in Germany with the high skill worked visa, waiting for 1 year there. And in Portugal, I'm not talking about that, but it's really complicated. And Spain did really great with this kind of visa. So my question will be a bit personal one. So if I already here digital nomad visa, what do you think the best ways to continue living here? Like what options do you see on the market as well? Like on the market, I mean on opportunities, legal opportunities, like what kind of visa, how people continue their presence from your experience, legal presence and that kind of stuff.
I always talk about
it was not in thesis, so it's very
yeah. So I always talk about immigration routes or pathways, because it's actually, as you say, it's not like a stable status for the rest of your life. It's something that evolves. No, you still keep your NIE number, but your status evolves. So often people come over, I don't know, as a student, and then postgraduate student, and then they swap into a job seeker permit, and then they go digital nomad, and then they find a job. It changes and it evolves, and it depends a lot. So there's no one single question for the response for that, obviously. But the thing is that I like a term that I heard some time ago, and they talked about immigration coaching. So that's really what I like as an idea. So it's to again empower the talent to make decisions on their immigration path, but based on knowledge. So what are my options? Because sometimes, I feel like the lawyers had the power. This is the way you have, and this is where you have to go. No, but there might be several options. So what do you want to do? I think the question is, where do you want to go? No, and then we'll find the solution. So that I like to flip over the question. That there are a lot of solutions. So might not be perfect, any of them, but as I said, so they can be temporary solutions, and that lead you on your way towards the final place where you want to go. So.
Like, for example, if I'm digital nomad and I want to continue my negocio, like individual entrepreneur or like this kind of stuff. So what are my options in Spain? I will, to continue after 3 years that I received this visa and all that kind of stuff. I will explain why this question comes. Of course, this personal interest, of course, but still, we will go to consultation. but the question is like, I think it's important. One thing that shall be also considered, like when you have this kind of relocation, what will happen after several years? What is your plan? Like, what is your path? Like, what you want to do? You want to stay in this country, or what opportunities you would like to have with this country as well? Or you are only for work, only for this kind of experience? So I think this question also important for understanding the real need that you need to uncover, actually.
Yeah. Again, so it depends. So, for example, for Latin American, normally the path is after 2 years I can ask for the Spanish citizenship, and that's a great path, no? But for some other, so most of the nationalities, that's not the way. But then sometimes life happens that I got married to a European. Also, it changes the situation. But when it's all self-driven and those are no options, so we need to check if it's feasible to set up as an entrepreneur, if it's as autonomo, no, if the project has enough basis to obtain the permit in that sense. So again, it requires a little bit of analysis, no, for each case. But as I said, so normally there is always a solution. But I think it's very important what you say, that people do think about it in advance, no? And because it will determine, no, if it's feasible long term first, not to stay in a place, and not. I had a conversation last week, and somebody said, "Well, I know she's an entrepreneur, but really in spirit, no." But she said, "Well, I have to find a job to be able to maintain my residence permit." I said, "But why would you find a job if you don't want to work for a company? You want to have your own project." "Yeah, but that's the only way I have." And I said, "Well, let's see, no." So I always think that we should kind of have our Northern Star, so when to go, and try to find a way to go that direction. And of course, sometimes maybe there is no other options, but at least make sure there isn't before you make other decisions.
You answered very kind of general, but still you gave me hope. So
we'll discuss your situation. We'll discuss your situation after this conversation.
For sure. I'm sure that we're very close to call this a day, but before that, let's speak a bit about future and maybe some questions that I haven't asked you. What do you think about future of global mobility? Like what is going to be next 5 years? What challenges, what disruptions? How AI, of course, will impact this and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think we have mentioned the main factors there. So the changing audience, no? So shifting from corporate to non-corporate, or more talent-driven moves, and that requires, from the relocation perspective, but that requires a whole new, mindset when providing services or providing support for that, because that's interesting. You mentioned also the AI. So what I see, that the behavior of the user, the end users, no, so the talent of our services has changed so much. So we used to be like in any consultancy work, no, we used to be like the gatekeepers, no, so we have the information, and you have to follow our processes, and so because we have the knowledge, and you kind of depend on us, no. And it's not like this anymore in many industries, because nowadays the information is available. The AI will give you instant responses, then they might be correct or not. No, if you ask how to do your empadronamiento, you might get a very creative response. But you have YouTube tutorials for everything, and you have the community that people will reach out and ask for advice. So I think we can't just execute those traditional relocation models, no, in the same way, because now the clients, they tell them they want to participate. So what we are trying to create in this space is kind of a safe sandbox effect, no. So create a framework, a safe space network, safety network, no, where people can play around, they can do their own thing, but still keeping them safe when it comes to have accurate information, etc., etc. But that's a whole change of mindset. And then it's, of course, the budget aspect. So as we said, so the independent movers, the local hires, they won't have the same corporate budgets for the relocation, etc. So we need to find a way to build the structure, let's say, the service in a different way, and build a more scalable and more accessible way to support these people. And this obviously needs to involve technology, needs to involve clever ways to reset it, no, somehow. So that's the challenge I think we have as professionals in global mobility. Accept the new behavior, no, of the clients, not try to insist on what you used to be for the last 30 years. And then as industry itself, so the new movers, no, they change the whole environment.
Yeah, I agree with that. We discussed a lot of things, but one thing as well, maybe we had to speak about this a bit earlier, but if you can elaborate more about the hardest case, the recent hardest case in relocation, maybe some challenges that you faced with that you handled, maybe something like lesson learned from this? If you have something in mind, share with us.
Yeah, so we have so many anecdotes, as you can imagine, no? So because each case is unique, and you see a lot of difficult situations. But maybe, most difficult case we handled, or maybe it was difficult just because we actually didn't handle it. So what we handled was the immigration part, and the thing is that when you see something like this, like, I'll tell you the scenario. So there was a company trying to find the right talent, and they looked for the right profile for 6 months, and finally they find someone in a very culturally different environment, a top performer, really with a very rare skill set, and the person arrives with spouse to Barcelona, very motivated, etc. But as there was no support for, let's say, the settling in part, the soft landing, no, apart from the immigration, they couldn't even schedule any housing visits for a month, and the whole cultural difference and the challenges, the obstacles they found in the market, where it led to was that the professional decided to drop off and take another job in another European country, I guess with the better support for the integration. And it's so frustrating, to watch, because you have top talent arriving motivated, and you have well-intentioned companies, but for something just, not having that final trigger to make it work, it all kind of fails. And I think it's a collective failure in that sense, because the talent obviously had a very bad experience, but also the company lost 9 months, lost a lot of time and investment. And this is what we want to avoid, So trying to provide tools to make sure that all the companies and talents, they have the tools to navigate that situation, and not having to end up with those traumatic situations, because I think it's sad, no? And that's our, let's say, purpose in the project, no? To make sure that the international moves and hires, or whatever personal plans, that they are successful, because there is a lot of expectations involved, there's a lot of emotion involved, and it's important because we are talking about people's lives. And in that sense, it's also a very rewarding job, because actually you have an impact in something important, more important than life, your personal life, there is nothing. But also on the corporate side, so on the impact on their businesses. Yeah, that's why I think it's so also engaging for people that work in global mobility, because so you have the corporate side, which is important, the business, but then you have like the people, no? And it's a beautiful environment to be in. And the purpose, there's like a real purpose. We don't have to look for very far. So where's our purpose? There. Build
for
in.
Sure. Thank you, Ira, for being with us today, and it was a pleasure to speak with you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Igualmente.
Very enjoyable.
Thank you so much. I think that our subscribers shall not forget to put like if they're still here, and subscribe to new episodes. We are turning back to the season 2, and you may expect a lot of insights from VC, tech, and relocation as well. So feel free to subscribe and drop a comment what topic was most interesting for you in this episode. Thank you, Ira. Thank you for your time, and feel free to share also some developments next several months. What will happen with the project?
Great. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it was really great, and I really congratulate for you for the podcast and everything you do. So it's great input.
Thank you so much.